Hello, and welcome. We are continuing with the second objective of this course, which is to be able to recognize the socio-political nature of education. The theme of this presentation is social justice in education. The quest for social justice runs deep through the Department of Interdisciplinary Learning and Teaching and all of our undergraduate and graduate degree programs. Our overall interdisciplinary approach to learning and teaching is grounded in social justice and requires a critical lens through which we interrogate and deconstruct social, political, and economic issues that impact education. It is evident through the courses we teach, our research, our service to the community, that the ILT faculty is heavily committed to social justice in education. Social justice is a theme that permeates all aspects of learning and teaching. So what do we mean by social justice in education? By social justice, we mean that all students have the fundamental right to learn and receive a good education. Social justice in education means that each student has equitable access to the same high-quality teachers, learning opportunities, materials and resources, and services as any other student. All students have access to a good education regardless of who they are, what their backgrounds are, where they live, or where they're from. Social justice in education means that all of us, educators or not, as citizens in our society must advocate for our students, fighting for equitable access to education. Social justice in education means that we are also empowering our students and their families to take part in ensuring equitable access not only for themselves, but for others as well. Social justice is not just a belief, but it is also an action that is paid forward. As many educators who work in lower SES areas know, students do not always have access to high-quality teachers, learning opportunities, materials, resources, and services, those things that help to achieve academic excellence. Even getting enough paper for a class of 25 students can be a never-ending challenge faced each week. If you are an educator or parent of a child with special needs, or if you are a student with special needs, you may have faced the same challenges to ensure that legally mandated accommodations and services are provided. And the COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the disproportionate access that teachers and students have to technology and technology pedagogies across all sectors of the education spectrum. Gender and racial disparities are prevalent in education as well, particularly in STEM fields. Broadening participation in the professional world requires increasing access to STEM opportunities for minorities, even starting at the pre-K and kindergarten levels. Social justice in education requires that we find ways to open opportunities in these areas and more, especially in the low SES areas where resources are extremely scarce. When we reviewed the history of education in the U.S., we saw many instances in which certain groups received an inferior educational experience or were denied access to education because of their race, gender, ability, language, or where they lived. Keep in mind that education is political and changes with society, sometimes for the better and sometimes in ways we must question. It is important to open your eyes to these inequalities and the ways in which they have manifested themselves within the public education system. These ways may be explicit or somewhat subtle, covert in their activity. They may set enduring trends of inequity. So we will examine how the dominant culture, basically those who are in charge, has shaped a hegemonic public education, resulting in the oppression of minority groups and disruption of their ability to fully participate in society. We will investigate how power is manifested through the unearned, asymmetrical privileges that some people have simply because of the class, sex, race, and other characteristics they were born into. Lastly, we will examine pedagogy as a means of liberation that empowers learners from oppressed groups to challenge dominant oppressive systems. Some of the ideas we will confront and reflect upon can be difficult. It is not always easy to identify, acknowledge, and accept inequities in society, especially if we share membership with a dominant group. Moreover, it may feel challenging to become active advocates for social justice in education. However, I'm certain that all of us in this class believe that everyone should have equal access to high-quality education, and that is why we are here. We are pursuing an advanced degree in education to improve our practice and become better educators. So although we may experience discomfort, our new knowledge will help us understand and empathize with marginalized groups of people, making us more informed, compassionate, liberatory educators. Regardless of whether you are an elementary school teacher, a university professor, a docent at a museum, or corporate trainer, you want your students to have the best learning experience possible. Many laws have been passed to address social injustices and create equitable access to education, but those same laws are regularly contested and disrupted. Our struggle to advocate for our students through social justice in education is a necessary one that is never ending.